Hey there, Bruce, and welcome back to Misericorde Volume 1. Let's just carry on, shall we? Because we have Angela on side now. On side. Very well, Her eyes narrowed, and she looked up at the shadowy abbey wall that loomed over the garden. What is it? Nothing. It was just a bird. Don't stab it with your knife, you crazy bastard. Well, what now? Business as usual. In the morning, I think I'll talk to James myself. Perhaps I can get something out of him you could not. Tonight, unfortunately, I have some work to go over with the Superior, and I imagine we'll be forced to entertain the Bishop until he retires. He's not staying in the hospitalum, is he? Yeah, it'd be rather awkward, I imagine. I hadn't considered. Perhaps the Superior will provide a bedroll and send him to the Misericorde. Anyway, what will you do next? The others are throwing a sort of continuation of the feast tonight in the cellars. I was told it was meant to be some sort of wake for Catherine. Angela's lips pursed ever so slightly. I had no idea that this proposed gathering was such an offensive idea to her. It sounded like a good opportunity to speak to people candidly. Perhaps I'll find a new clue. Indeed. Well, goodbye. And with that, she left. Her shoulder bumped into mine as she passed by, and her stride looked like a little less confident than usual as I watched her turn the corner at the end of the hedgerow. I sighed. The sun was still setting. I had a good while yet before I needed to appear at this controversial party. I wandered back the way we'd come, past the chapel. The more I wandered around the abbey, the stranger I found the pile of debris lumped unceremoniously next to the building. The chapel itself appeared sturdy enough, so I was at a loss to what all this loose stone was for. I gasped as I realised that there was something moving atop the rubble, black fabric draped over the broken rocks. I froze in place. Was this Eustace breaking her promise to me yet again? Or was I the first person in history to catch a ghost off guard? I squinted through the dusk, trying to decide whether or not to bolt. It turned around to face me and I tensed. Only... Oh, hello, Hedwig. Oh, it's you. You gave me quite a fright up there. I think I'd already said that we need to stop meeting like this, didn't we? We really do need to. It's no trouble. I'm just naturally jumpy, it turns out. I suppose that wouldn't be a problem in a cell. There's only one way people can come at you in there. Indeed. What are you doing up on the pile of rocks? Oh, just taking in the sunset. Sister Margaret, even I won't buy that one. It was worth trying. Well, I need to get into the chapel. There used to be a way in through here, but when the clock tower collapsed, it blocked the passage. Have you tried the front door? Ha ha. The soup locked it for whatever reason. And the back door as well, clever clogs. Oh, well, that's a shame. I suppose you could just pray out here instead? Or anywhere? I don't need to pray. I need to, well... She ceased peering at the wall of the chapel, where I presumed the rubble had filled in whatever entrance she was hoping to find. Can you keep a secret? It's not anything bad, is it? No. Well, not really. Only a little at worst. Oh. So? Can you? I sighed. What was one more on the pile? Yes, of course. Well, as I'm sure you noticed, the Superior's organ sounded a little off tonight. Did it? She shot me a withering look. Anyway, that might have been my fault. A little bit. It was a little bit Catherine's fault as well, but she's busy. I needed to get in there and fix the problem. What do you mean it's your fault? Sister Margaret? I remembered the first conversation Margaret and I had ever had with Catherine. I thought that was just a joke. A cruel joke, but idle chatter nonetheless. It should have stayed that way, but I fear that we might have taken things a touch too far. She looked a bit upset tonight, didn't she? As well she should. You'll get no argument from me. Anyway, that's why I'm up here. I'm trying to find a way in. Why not just come clean? Where's the fun in that? Besides, I'd rather not be stuck on privy cleaning duty for the rest of the year. Well then, why not just do it tomorrow before service or after? That might have to be the plan, I'm afraid. But there's a good chance she'll try and play it again, and I doubt that she'll maintain her composure another time. I thought hard about a way to help. I did not approve of Margaret's mischief, but I was at the very least pleased to see some empathy and effort to correct her mistake. What about the bells? I don't follow. Someone is going to ring the bell before liturgy tomorrow, surely. Whoever did it would have to unlock the door. Couldn't you get in that way? Margaret hopped down from the pile of rocks and grabbed me by the shoulders. Hedwig, you're a genius. Someone is going to ring the bell tomorrow morning. It's going to be me. Oh, well, there you go. No, I mean, I can make that happen. I'm sure whoever got assigned bell duty this week will jump at the chance to sleep in after tonight's little party. I'll just go tell the soup that I volunteer right now. She patted my arm and began to jog away. See you in the cellars. Wait. What is a clock tower? Oh, right. Well, a clock is a bit like... Imagine if you didn't have to ring bells at morning, noon and dinner yourself. It's a big machine that does all that for you. Like the animal statues by King Solomon's throne. I had no idea we had such wonders here. Margaret looked oddly stern. Yes, I suppose it is a bit like that. It just seems a bit... extravagant? The Soup was very excited about the project, but between you and me, there were a few of us who thought it was a waste of money. But she had secured a good deal on the work and wanted it built quickly. Didn't she say that she knew it was going to fall down? And it was the bishop that was pushing it through? Normally these things reserved for big cathedrals and cities. But you look at it now and, wow, looks like we got what we paid for in the end. I'd heard the superior thought it was a bad idea. I'm sure she says that now. So, why hasn't anyone moved all these stones? Have you tried lifting one? A fair point. I'm surprised you've never come across a clock before. They're expensive, but they're not exactly new. Isn't there one in Commedia? What's Commedia? Well, you haven't read Dante? Now that surprises me. Now it's my turn to be uncharacteristically stern. I have not read anything that isn't biblical canon, errata, or scholarly commentary. Listen, I really must run and catch the Soup, but we'll try and catch up on about all this at the party, yeah? I think you'd probably like it. I'll look forward to it. Margaret grinned and then jogged off toward the superior's office. I sighed and continued at my own pace, down the path toward the cloister where I could see the torches being lit. I headed up the stairs to the dormitory. I reasoned that if I really was going to burn the midnight oil with everyone in the cellars later, I might as well get some rest. However, the dorms were livelier than I'd ever seen them. Everyone's doors were wide open, and I could see several sisters milling about. One was on her knees, scrubbing. I froze in the doorway. The ink. My god, the stuff is resilient. You should take up stone carving, Moira. It's just as permanent and a lot less messy. It wasn't my fault. It was like this when I got here. Oh, well, hello, Hedwig. I stepped forward nervously, ready to be chastised. I could probably mix something up that would help. The last stain remover I remember you mixing up for me burned a hole straight through my robe. I appreciate the offer, Darcy, but I think I got as much help as I'm going to get. Much of it up as I'm going to. Sorry, Moira. Whatever for? I must have knocked it over when I was getting fresh clothes from your dorm. I really was a nasty little rat. Miraculously, Moira chuckled. There's no need to blame yourself. I think you would have noticed knocking a whole ink bottle over, silly. I almost objected, but then a small crowd around Eustace parted enough for me to see who the culprit everyone had agreed upon was. We really need locks if Catherine is going to have a cat running around. It's not my cat. Why does everyone think it's my cat? Eustace ignored her. This was a disaster just waiting to happen. I keep all my bottles under the bed so nothing gets knocked over. Eustace stood up, groaning a little bit as she bent her knees. I'd keep your shoes on out here for a while. I think I got all the broken glass, but you never know. Thanks so much for the help, Eustace. I did my best inside the room, but the paw prints. Eustace nodded and put the brush she had been using to scour the floor back into the wooden bucket at her side. The paw prints were not gone, but they were at least faded. Oh, Hedwig. You should tell Darcy about your vision. Her what? Oh, that. Oh, do tell. Perhaps it'd be best if you took Hedwig into your dorm to chat about it a little more privately. Oh, right. I'm sorry, Hedwig. No, it's quite alright. Really, I had no reason to be upset. I'd made no demands for secrecy, and under normal circumstances I'm sure I'd be thrilled. Perhaps even a little proud if were I to be brutally honest with myself, to have it known that I'd seen a vision. But this day had been such a violent emotional journey that I couldn't help but feel annoyed. Darcy, on the other hand, looked positively elated. Yes, come with me. She beckoned me inside her room as the rest of the group dispersed. She shut the door behind her and gestured for me to sit on the bed. It was hard to find a spot that wasn't covered in books, bags, tools, and containers. This is exciting. Have you ever had a vision before? Never in my life. What happened? Well, it's rather unpleasant to tell you the truth. Oh, they often are. I've seen a lot of gruesome things in mine, according to Eustace anyway. What sort of gruesome things? Heads chopped off, stuff on fire, men with too many eyes, the list goes on. How frightening. I think it's worth it for the ones that are less scary. And really the scary ones are important too, I think. They're a rich tapestry. I think that's a very good way to look at it. So what'd you see? No holding back. Start with before the vision, actually. What were you feeling? She'd produced a quill and paper from her little reading desk. Well, I was rather upset. I had a horrible time in the village, truth be told. Sorry to hear it. And I sat down in the town square. I told her everything in much more detail than I'd given Eustace and Moira on the ride back up to the Abbey. It was easy to be forthcoming around Darcy compared to almost everyone else here. Wow. Exciting. Is it now? Oh, incredibly. What could it mean? No idea. Oh. Is something wrong? No, I was hoping you might be able to help sort it all out. I'd be happy to help, but I can't give you the answer. I don't understand it. I wouldn't know where to begin understanding it. Well, it is probably about God. I suppose that much I'd gathered, I think. See, you did know where to begin after all. What do these things say to you? I don't know. You must know. Otherwise you would not have seen them. What if it's an omen? I wouldn't know then. If God is trying to tell me something, surely it would be something that I needed to know. And didn't. Darcy shook her head. It was odd seeing her look so authoritative. Even in the garden, she never commanded this sort of presence. God would never show you anything you didn't have the capacity to understand. God may not speak in words, but he understands language. How else would he communicate with us now, and the Israelites then? The Jews and the Romans. How would he reach the heathens in the east? Or the bloody French? God showed Hildegard a shape of light, and let her conclude that it was a map of the cosmos. He even sent Moses a burning bush before he spoke plainly. And he sent me a vomiting dog? Perhaps he has yet to speak plainly to you. Or perhaps he already is. She emphasized this point with a dramatic gesticulation. I wasn't sure whether to be amused or frustrated. Do you understand any of the visions you've seen? Not entirely. If only Catherine were here. She understood hers very quickly. With my help, of course. Which gives me the utmost confidence that I can help you. We can translate what God is saying to you. I would appreciate that. I am yours. However, I must think on it. Of course. There really is no great rush. She scrunched up her face and started stroking her chin, and I realized that she meant to start thinking right away. I stood up and bowed my head. My thanks, Darcy. She nodded gently. I left to retire to my own room. The crowd that had surrounded the ink spillage had dispersed. Only Moira remained leaning against her door, looking more exhausted than I'd ever seen her. Any luck? We're going to keep at it. Good. She looked pensive and preoccupied. I'm sorry. Oh, it's no great loss. I can always ask the superior to send away for more. I just worry that damn cat is going to cause more trouble elsewhere. I'm sure we have some spare ink in the library. Oh, I might take you up on that. Although you might have to ask Eustace. I know she can be a bit particular about supplies and so on. It can't hurt to ask. No, it can't, can it? You're right. Sorry to be so much of a downer. She fixed her gaze on the faint paw prints on the floor again. Eustace had certainly done her best to scour the stone, but there was still a visible trail leading out of the dorms to the landing. Is it really that so much of a nuisance? It sounds silly, but I don't trust it. I'm old-fashioned, I suppose. She sighed heavily. It was very cute once upon a time, but once I grew up, I had no idea it had been a problem for that long. We don't get the usual vermin up here on the hills. It's far too cold. Whoever brought it here just wanted a pet, I think. Another of this abbey's great mysteries. What are some of the others? I caught myself too late to keep this rather stupid inquiry to myself. I'm convinced my habit of answering every statement with a question would be the death of me. Luckily, Moira didn't find this question odd. Where to start? Who paid for it? Who still pays for it? Is it haunted? Yes. Darcy had emerged from her room without either of us noticing. Do you really think so, Darcy? I know so. I've thought a lot about it recently and finally know for certain this place is very haunted. Ugh, I hope not. Darcy shuffled past us, leaving Moira looking a little worried. I wanted to say something comforting to Moira, but the evil sigil carved into the walls loomed in the back of my mind. It was becoming harder to disagree with Darcy's assessment. I was curious as to what had prompted her escalation from a little to very haunted, and thought about following her to ask. But Moira kept talking. That night on the landing when you said you saw a ghost. I know Eustace claimed credit, but the more I hear from the others, the more I see myself, I sometimes wonder. If it's any comfort, I don't know what to believe about it either. What was it like? Terrifying. And then, when everyone assumed it was a practical joke, I felt very small. I would too. I must apologise for throwing my lot in with them. It's no trouble. I can scarcely believe it myself. It goes against everything I know, everything I hold true. How could I judge anyone for dismissing my account? You're too forgiving. You did not see it. You have nothing to apologize for. That's not true, actually. What do you mean? Remember in the village, when I whispered to Eustace? I was telling you that we had to stall so that we wouldn't get back to the Abbey too early, since everyone was getting ready for the feast, which was meant to be a surprise. Well, it was a lovely surprise. So how could I be upset? Moira smiled. Her eyes were a little damp. I felt horrid for keeping you there against your will. I felt horrid being there, but I think in the end this day ended up being rather good. Really? That's a relief. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve and then stood up straight. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, though. We've got a wake to attend, remember? Right. I think I'm going to lie down for a while, to recuperate. You should. It's been a long day, and it's going to be a long night. Of course. She smiled at me and then stretched her arms above her head, letting out a huge yawn. I think I might do the same. Knock on my door if you get up before I do, won't you? Of course. We went to our separate rooms. I think I fell asleep the moment my eyes shut. I awoke with a start. That damn knocking in the walls was back. I looked out the window to see the moonlight was high in the sky. At the very least, I could thank the creaky old building for waking me up at the right time for this party. I groaned and rolled out of bed. I really should have stripped down before sleeping. I felt too warm and a bit pasty, despite the cool night breeze coming through my window. I adjusted my clothes as best I could. On my way out, I nearly tripped over Medea, which I picked up and put on my writing desk next to the desiccated copy of Matthew. I was getting a little tired of having books of odd import lying around my dorm room, let me tell you. Hello, Hedwig. Hello, Catherine. Margaret. We should go. Yes, we should. They looked oddly serious. Moira emerged from her dorm room as well. She looked rejuvenated since the last time I saw her. The nap had done her some good. Hello. Shall we? I suppose we must. Moira looked surprised by Catherine's maudlin tone. We travelled to the cellars together in silence. The Abbey looked quite mysterious at this time of night. The pale blue light of the moon was competing with the flickering orange torchlights. As we approached the cellar, I realised just how close we were to the Superior's office. Is this really wise? Surely the noise will carry. I doubt it. We'll be deep in the cellars and these walls are thick. Not to mention that bloody great door of hers. I doubt she'd mind. It's all for Catherine after all. Of course. Only a few torches down in the cellars had been lit. I could already hear music echoing around the cool underground walls. It was altogether rather eerie. A sort of fortress of casks had been erected around what appeared to be the designated celebration area. A few of the barrels had been arranged like little tables carrying wineskins and cups. Adela had one of the makeshift tables to herself and was playing some sort of card game with Sister Charity. Whatever the game was, it finished as we approached. Adela flipped a card over, causing Charity to erupt into giggles. Hello, everyone. Would any of you care to see the future? No, thanks. Catherine and Margaret made non-committal grunts and left me alone with Adela, who was already shuffling the cards. You should, it's not half bad. I was really planning to leave early and got a... What was it you said, Adela, dear? Your present card was the Three of Cups, inverted. In that position, it can refer to a lack of time to socialise. Dead on, isn't it? Anyway, I can't stay. These old bones won't survive staying up too late. I just want to raise a glass and pour Catherine's name at least. She was really quite drunk already. You should stick around for just a short while longer. I believe we're giving a toast to Catherine in just a few minutes. Oh, you've talked me into it. She toddled off. Wow, would you like a glimpse of the future, Sister Hedwig? I'm not sure I like the look of this. Is this some kind of Iberian custom we shouldn't play around with? Adela frowned at me as she continued shuffling her deck of cards. This is an Italian pastime my mother enjoyed, Sister Hedwig. Oh. I felt rather embarrassed. I kept doing this sort of thing. I decided that agreeing to participate would be the best mea culpa I could offer, despite the misgivings I had with the activity. Go on then. She rapped the cards against the table sharply. I will turn over 3 cards. The first card will represent your past, the second will describe your present, and the third will give you a hint of your future. Are you ready? This was silly. Yes, let's try it. The Seven of Cups. It represents illusions, imagination, creativity. But as you can see, it is inverted. From where I'm standing, I suppose, this is about your perspective, so yes, it is inverted. The card represents your past. You were in yourself for a long time, were you not? You spent a lot of time with nobody but yourself. Nothing but your own imagination. Clinging to this past will not help you. Your second card, the present. I have revealed the world. Once again, it is inverted. In this reverse position, the world represents your inner torment. You are secluded. You are lonely. You are withdrawn. Oh, now you're just being mean. Because something has been troubling you, yes? Yes. Something you need to get to the bottom of. Something that has been preoccupying you ever since you left your cell, am I correct? Yes. Of course I am. You were alone in yourself for many years and now you've been set adrift. That conflict has been eating away at you and driving you further inward. The world in reverse, believe it or not, could be a good sign, Sister Hedwig. It represents your current state. You may yet find answers to your questions within yourself. Choose a final card, and we shall see. I pointed at the topmost card of the pile. I did not particularly care for this game and wanted it to be over as soon as possible. Oh, the Queen of Swords, reversed. All your cards have been reversals, Sister Hedwig. That's interesting. Is it dangerous? No, it just means that you face many challenges. Lovely. A reverse Queen of Swords in this position means you will continue to have a hard time moving forward into the future. You must make some decisions, Sister Hedwig. This Queen in reverse suggests to me that you must find some strength inside yourself to move beyond your current predicament. Perhaps there is something small you can think of and change. I will have to think on it. I desperately wanted to leave the table, but Adela was shuffling the card pile again. Let us ask the cards a question. Think hard, Sister Hedwig. What would you like to ask? What would you ask the cards? You do not need to speak it aloud. Ask the question yourself and then pick a card. I hated this game, but I didn't want to upset Adela. I'd already seen a real vision today. I reasoned that I had the strength to endure the silly little pagan ritual for one more round. If I could not be flippant openly, I decided I would ask these cards something disdainful, if only in my own mind. Is this real? That's what I landed on. Why didn't you ask who killed Catherine? That would have been easier. I mean, more useful. I gestured to the bottommost card in the pile that I could see peeking out from beneath the others. Let us see. The High Priestess. That's interesting. What does it mean? Well, to be honest, I think this card is imbued with such a mystery that your answer is unclear. I did not like this answer at all. I stared at the card, deep in thought. It felt oddly similar to looking at my reflection in the bath. Isn't it funny how every card is imbued with enough mystery to mean whatever you like? I jumped. I hadn't noticed Eustace looming. The cards have malleable meanings, it is true. That makes them better at their intended purpose, not worse. Oh, I don't disagree with you there. Adela shot Eustace a nasty sneer. I was relieved that someone else was the target of her ire now, at least. Do you not have any sense of wonder? No love of mystery? The church holds plenty of mystery for me. Isn't that right, Hedwig? It is a wide world, and I believe you must be flexible if you wish to spread the faith around it. I opened my mouth to refute this, but I caught myself before saying anything. There was no need to draw Adela's attention back to me. I may have found this talk blasphemous, but at the end of the day, I was a bigger coward than I was a devout Catholic. Another thing I was coming to loathe about myself. We'll leave you to it. Hedwig hasn't gotten a drink yet, isn't that right? Yes. Goodbye then. She busied herself with her cards. Eustace tugged at my sleeve and pulled me away from the table, although I did not need much convincing. She can be a bit funny about her hobbies. I'm surprised she's allowed to bring fortune-telling here. Those cards are blasphemous, surely. I'm not sure Adela thinks that hard about these things beyond the aesthetics. I would call her an easily distracted traditionalist. She led us to a free table near the edge of the makeshift room, with thus far untouched cups, and began pouring 2 drinks. You've had a long day. Indeed I have. How are you feeling? She nudged a full cup in my direction, which I took with a quickness that surprised even myself. Tired, but also very, very awake. Like I could sleep forever, or never again. Darcy was the same way when she started having visions. So you believe me now. I said I believed that you believed you had a vision. Ultimately, what I think doesn't matter. She drummed her fingers on top of the barrel-cum table. She stared off into the distance, deep in thought. I want you to know that I'm looking out for you. Do you understand that? In what sense? I can't say, but I promise it isn't out of disrespect. I'm not being condescending. She was being very condescending. You being awake for Catherine, it feels quite strange, uncomfortable, and I felt similarly about you working in the library as well. I keep glancing up from my work, expecting to see her sitting across me, writing God knows what, but instead I see you. That isn't your fault, to be clear, but it stings every time. I can only apologize. I'm no replacement for her. I was never trying to be. I was very angry when I first heard you had volunteered for your old position. What a climber, I thought. You regretted taking such extreme vows and jumped on a rare opportunity to leave. I know several other sisters think the same way. I do not think that anymore, just so that you know. What changed your mind? You're a fucking miserable. This wasn't something you wanted, was it? She peered at me through her thick glasses. I knew that there was no way I could lie. She was clearly comfortable in her deduction already. No. The superior put you up to something, didn't she? Yes. I wish she hadn't. I sometimes feel the same. She wanted some objective eyes and ears, I take it. She's not satisfied with the conclusion that the man killed her. Yes, it's it exactly. Of all her idle interests, this is easily the most annoying. She poured herself another drink. What could convince you to just give it up? That's why I tried to scare you, you know. But you're braver than I thought. Nothing. Oh, please. There must be something. No, there isn't. I don't think it was James either. How could you possibly have an opinion on this? You never met either of them. That's not true. Catherine came to my hagioscope several times. Yes, to talk about what? Plays? You didn't know Catherine. Not the way I did. Nor anything close to the myriad connection she had with everyone here. What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you picture her? Companionship. Someone who I could talk to about scripture on a level no one else ever has. Yes, she was very good at leveraging people's interests. I know she left a few sisters hurt when she moved on from certain interests. Are you one of them? No. But that is certainly an opinion several people here may have. So you admit that I have some knowledge of the situation. Why is it then that you want me to ignore all of this so badly? Eustace looked around to make sure no one was within earshot, and then leaned across the barrel to speak in a harsh whisper. Poking around for perceived conspiracies is what got her killed, and I don't want the same to happen to you. Or you or anybody else. What do you mean? So you don't think James killed her? I didn't say that. Then... Eustace leaned away suddenly. I intuited that she'd seen someone approaching out of the corner of her eye and bit my tongue. Hello. Is this wineskin still full? Eustace began pouring wine for the two of them. They took their cups and settled in with us. The conversation with Eustace, it seemed, was over for good. Has Adela read everyone's fortunes yet? She told me I had a lot of anger in my past. Too right. Did you know that the death card doesn't always mean something bad? I nearly screamed when she showed me that one. I'm not sure the cards actually mean anything. They can mean everything, which is just as unhelpful. Still, it's a bit of fun, isn't it? As long as we don't take it too seriously. Margaret chugged the rest of her drink down and slammed the cup on the table. Right, I suppose I should get back to the loot. She left the table and Eustace scooted around to better talk with both Moira and I. What got Catherine in such a bad mood, do you think? She gestured toward the tall woman who was leaning against a barrel all by herself, looking positively ashen. Huh, that's not like her. Not at all. Do you think we should ask her? Maybe later, not now. I'd rather wait until she got less wine in her. I made eye contact with Catherine by accident while the others were talking. She sighed deeply and then looked away to pour herself another cup. That's really not like her. I had, in fact, seen Catherine in a similar state in the Misericorde not very long ago, when she'd been staring into the fire and lamenting her lot in life. She had alluded to her old home life then. Now that I knew the rumours surrounding her exit from the village, I had a sinking feeling about what was bothering her. You don't think she really did what they say, do you? Kill her husband? Moira and I both coughed into our drinks. No, I don't think she did. No, nor me. She's a bit odd, but I don't think she's that kind of odd. Look who's talking. Flora had arrived without anyone noticing and looked ready to pick a fight for some reason. Eustace turned around to address her curtly. I never said I wasn't odd, but I think we can all agree Catherine and I are different kinds of odd. Never mind. Why me? Moira obliged immediately, lifting up the wineskin to pour a mug for the impatient young woman. Go easy on the stuff this time. You're not my mother. Thank God for that. Flora stuck her tongue out at Eustace and left, presumably to go bother somebody else. Christ. I know it's normal for young nuns to act out, but she's been acting out for a long time now. I bristled at the curse, but the insinuation that Eustace found Flora's behaviour somehow beneath her bothered me more. I opened my mouth to say something about it, but Moira got there first. It's probably for the best, she was always more tactful than me. You like to act out too, Eustace, just in more elaborate ways, I suppose. My pranks have always been elaborate and thought-provoking. What thought was dressing up as a ghost meant to provoke? Ah, a ghost. We all laughed. Even Eustace. I wish I knew how to do that sort of thing. If I had been left to my own devices, I would have likely started another argument with Eustace, Woman to woman, Eustace and I had a relationship that seemed liable to fall apart at a moment's notice. With Moira around, I felt part of an inseparable trio. Eustace glanced across the room at Margaret, who was fiddling with her lute while standing on top of a crate. Catherine had wandered over to the makeshift stage as well, still looking a bit dour. Her and Margaret exchanged a few words. Neither of them looked thrilled, honestly. Finally, Margaret shrugged. Catherine sighed, then appeared to pull herself together somewhat miraculously. Margaret strummed a chord and spoke aloud to everyone gathered in the cellar. Everyone! I know we have some important drinking to get to, but there's someone who won't be joining us tonight, who we need to pay tribute to. A murmur of approval echoed around the room. Someone who can't join us ever again. It's been several weeks since we lost our dear sister, Catherine II. I'm sure she'd be delighted to see all of you here. Annoyed, perhaps, at a few of you, but that's nothing a few drinks couldn't fix, I'm sure of it. Everyone chuckled, but I was left confused. What sort of morning was this? We'll never have a sister like her. I dare say there isn't a convent in the country who will. In the world, most likely. I miss having the competition. Her and I had unparalleled beauty, wit, and grace. I came out on top, of course, but it was very close. More laughter. But she handily bested me at other things. Her boundless love for others, her endless interest in all manner of scholarship, her frankly rabid hatred of Italians. Everyone found this one particularly hilarious, but I was more lost than ever. And the Spanish. Or was it the Portuguese? I can't remember. She certainly got her licks in on the English as well, which... She raised her mug into the air and all the crowd followed suit. Fair play. Fair play to all of it, I suppose. Where else but England would Catherine II get struck with a convent full of Spaniards and Italians? She was Irish, of course. Moira put her hands together in front of her mouth and let out an approving howl, so loud that I flinched. Everyone else found this very amusing. She liked to remind us of that whenever she could. I once asked her, why not go back to Ireland then, when I was particularly irritated with some of her good-natured ribbing. And I swear this is true, she looked at me dead in the eyes and said, My dearest Catherine, ignoring the fact that I must remain here as a nun, I would never consider Lynbarrow anything less than my home. How very trite, I thought. I still do most of the time. Lynbarrow rarely feels like a home to me. The hallways are drafty. What little work there is to do is tedious, and the tedium only increases when there's no work left to do. It rains all the time and it's freezing cold even when the sun's shining. That all being said, I realised something recently. I may grouse about this place, and I'm certainly not going to stop. But Lynbarrow certainly feels less of something without Catherine II around. And I think perhaps, if she considered it a home, I could too. So maybe it is home. For better or worse. I miss her, and I think I would miss all of you, just the same, were any of you to leave. Most of you. The crowd laughed again. Catherine raised her mug and began pointing at people in front of her. Charity, what will you miss about Catherine II? I'll miss chatting about her with her about the past. Nobody else here wants to hear it. Too bloody right. Marta? I miss her assistance in the cellars. Flora? I miss having a real friend. Adela? I miss having a sparring partner. Hold on to that one. I doubt you'll ever duel someone again. You two are complete madwomen. Eustace? I'll miss our conversations in the library. Someone Eustace enjoyed talking to. What a rare person she was. I think we only have one other here like that. Darcy? Sorry, what was the question? What are you going to miss most about Catherine II? Oh, I'll miss having someone to discuss ghosts and spirits with. Steady on. Moira. I'll miss her accent. She was choking back tears. Everyone chuckled sympathetically at her silly answer. It was a little taste of home, I'm sure. Hedwig. Only joking. Margaret. I could have shrunk into a mote of dust. I'll miss playing music with her. And we'll all miss hearing it. Speaking of, Margaret, you did say Catherine won't be joining us tonight, but perhaps if we drink hard enough and sing loud enough, she'll join us. Am I right? Come now. If I can't hear you, she certainly won't. Am I right? Everyone began stomping and clapping. Some people were banging on barrels to make extra noise. It was so raucous that I was worried the superior might descend the stairs to chastise us, but nobody else seemed to mind. The evening descended into chaos from there. I had no idea what I was meant to do once Catherine's little speech was concluded. There didn't seem to be much else in the way of eulogizing it this wake. The sisters were all drinking, laughing, playing chess, and reading fortunes from that demonic deck of cards. Frankly, I felt sick. Man, we're such a party pooper. I stood at the edge of the cellar, next to one of the barrels, holding a mug that I took the smallest sip from every now and then. I felt even more out of place here than I had in the Misericorde. I was confounded by the realization that place, which was designated specifically for rule breaking, had felt less debauched than what I saw before me. Margaret played her lute for what seemed like hours, taking breaks only to swig whatever drink Catherine handed to her. Catherine herself seemed to be in a better mood than earlier, although she might simply have been too drunk to feel anything. Even Moira was acting far more depraved than I was used to seeing. She was dancing like mad, bumping into people and cheering and banging on barrels to create a makeshift percussion section for Margaret. Adela made her way over to me, smiling. "What are you doing all the way over here?" "Oh, I'm just tired is all." "Come on, join in." "I'd rather not, I'm happy here." "Do you feel out of place?" "I just didn't know Catherine that well." "You're not here because of how well you knew Catherine. You're here because everybody likes you." What rubbish. I didn't know what to say to her, so I took a sip of my drink in a feeble attempt to hide. "You need to trust what the card said. Allow yourself to discover where you belong." I nodded in a non-committal way. Mercifully, this seems to satisfy Adela, who danced off back toward the rest of the group. I could hear wood scraping against stone. Moira had pushed a crate next to Margaret and was clambering atop it clumsily. Everyone! She wobbled and nearly lost her balance till Margaret caught her. "Thank you. Everyone, I think it's time we properly welcome our new chronicler." She pointed at me drunkenly and I froze. Everyone turned and raised their mugs to me. Catherine could never be replaced, but Hedwig is a lovely new presence here, don't you all think? I was practically begging to be struck down by a lightning bolt. Anything to end this embarrassment. The feast had been bad enough, but seeing the sisters fully uninhibited, smiling at me, seemingly entirely earnestly as they toasted me, it made my blood boil. I don't really know why. I just felt wrong. Because you're such a fucking party pooper, man. Stop spoiling everything. This sounds like I'd live in this nunnery. I wish I was a nun. This sounds like fun. But look at all the drunken, drooping faces gulping at me. I wasn't sure I wanted their approval. 3 cheers for Hedwig. Hup hup. Hup hup. Hup. I was rescued by an ugly sound. Flora had wandered over to one of the casks and attempted to open it only to break the bung completely. Alright, we need to wrap this one up because I'm going to let it run on too long. Alright, Flora fucked something up and that's going to take everybody's eyes off us. I don't understand why Hedwig can't just, enjoy it. They seem to have a pretty carefree existence, man. Seems pretty good to me. No worries. Just chilling and drinking and hanging out and playing chess. I could get behind that. Right. I think most of us could. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. I'll see you in the next one.